Hey everybody, I'm Ellie Mae. Happy Friday. I am joined with Shannon, of course. Here she is, Shannon. And yeah, happy Friday, guys. Our question today is, do you give Trump credit for the strong economy? But first, I want to just mention that the North Korea summit is back on. Yay, that is good. That's kind of a scary picture, sorry, but whatever. So the summit is back on. A letter was given to, I think, Trump this morning by someone representing North Korea. I don't know what the letter said, but that's very interesting. Also, Samantha Bee, obviously, after she made those mean comments about Ivanka, she just got ads pulled from State Farm. So looks like the double standard is evening out, because that always happens to conservatives. But that's very interesting. So State Farm pulled their ads from her. And one last thing, I'm sorry, it's Friday. I just have to say Kanye West came out with a new album. Yay! Okay. But that's all from me. So guys and Shannon, what do we think? Do you give Trump credit for the strong economy?
I'm reluctant. I think, I guess I'll put it this way. I don't think any of the policies he's put into place, like the tariffs or like pulling out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which I disagree with pretty much all of those. I don't think any of those have like directly contributed to the strong economy. I guess there's an argument that tax cuts could be leading to it, but I really think these are more like macro trends. So unemployment rate is at the lowest it's been since the year 2000. And I don't think that, I mean, I guess I have a little bit of a double standard, and all you guys can call me out for being like a liberal in the comments, but I do give Obama credit for pulling us out of the recession. So I think 2008, obviously the bottom dropped out of the economy, and I don't think it was a perfect recovery. In fact, I think many in the middle class like did not have the same recovery as people in sort of the upper 1% and upper class of upper strata of the economic, socioeconomic. But I do give Obama some credit. I think over the 8 years he was in office, and specifically the policies he put into place right after 2008, right when he came into office, I do give him credit. Like, I think it could have been much worse. Do I think it was a perfect recovery? No, but I do give him credit for that. So, but then I'm like very loath to be like, Trump's been in office for a year. And this, if you look at the trends, like it has been trending upward for several years. So I'm not sure I actually give him that much credit for his policies. I don't know. What do you think?
Obviously, I'm a professional economist. Like super professional. No, yeah, I definitely give him credit. I'm not so sure about when Obama was president, what exactly was the case there. I just know that my liberal side of the family were giving him credit for the stock market doing better and things like that because people were more confident with him in office or something like that. And they were even admitting that, even though they detest Trump beyond belief. So, of course, that influences me with my opinion. And yeah, again, I'm an expert economist. No. Our top two comments on this question. So we asked this on our Facebook page, obviously. So again, do you give him credit? That one was about the unemployment rate, and our top two comments were, again, both from both sides. So the first one was, if it was not for Trump, the economy will be a disaster. He's a businessman, blah, blah, blah. Thank God we have Trump. And then the other one said, no, Obama did it all. Trump inherited this thriving economy he did not create. Well, not, but yeah. And so those are our split comments. So obviously we have a lot of different views on this. And I don't really know how to navigate this situation. I look at, how big the debt is. I look at, yeah, the debt's terrifying. But yeah, so unemployment is down to 3.8%, according to CBS. Payroll up by 223,000. So, I mean, this is good, no matter who gets the credit.
It is
great.
And I guess I would say, I think there are macroeconomic trends, and you have to look at where things are trending. But also, it's very clear that I would say I think Trump is contributing. I would say I wouldn't lay praise solely at his door. I think it's a combination of policies Obama put into place. I think it's, post-recession sort of how the entire international economy reacted. But yeah, I think Trump I would say he has definitely had a contributing effect to low unemployment, to, rising economic growth. So yeah, it's interesting to see. We created 15,000 more jobs than previously reported in March and April. I have some facts from our intern. Shout out to Gabriel here. The lowest unemployment rate since April 2000. And this is even comes even as a stimulus from a 1.5 trillion income tax cut. Increased government spending is yet to be felt. So I guess I would put it this way. I think that the policies Trump has put into place, even things like the tax cut, certainly like the spending plan and some of his economic policies, I think it is too soon to tell. I think the results of those will play out over the next decade plus. I think these things happen on a long timeline. That being said, I think, like you said, confidence in Trump and the stock market, and I think that those are things that you can definitely give him credit for. So yeah, I guess I feel like a lot of these, it is interesting. Like if you think about the presidential term limits, right? Like most presidents serve for 8 years, 4 to 8 years, but changing the economy, I mean, that's such a complicated, so it feels like 8 years is barely enough to start to see any results from, policies that you put into place. Like it was only by the end of Obama's 8-year terms that we really started to climb out of the recession. And, it took several years. So it is something I think you have to look at on a macro scale.
Mark says, how many jobs are going to be lost with the tariffs? Which I wanted to show because I know you're against the tariffs, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm not against protectionism of American industries. Obviously, I would love a utopia where there's free trade, everyone completely. But what bothers me is I think Trump is focusing on areas that are more for the PR than for the actual economic benefit. So to me, I think trying to protect coal jobs and steel jobs, that's not actually that many Americans. And in the long scheme of things, that's not forward-thinking protectionism. Things like we should be doing what China's doing, which is basically new technology, like creating computer chips, like AI, like all of these things. I mean, China is not a great actor in this for us because they are so protectionist, but they are investing in creating these industries, which are going to be the future. Like this is the future of jobs, and I think that's where I would like to see more American protectionism is things like engineering and, creating computer parts. And that's where I would be more, that's where I would more support. And I think we would do better in terms of looking ahead to create jobs and job sectors for Americans. We should be supporting those. I don't think coal is a growth job industry. I don't think steel manufacturing is a growth job industry, and steel is also, a little bit fraud because there are people who actually are benefit from those, but there are also many Americans whose job depends on buying cheap steel. And so I think it's a little bit harder. Bush did similar tariffs, and I think the economic analysis now 10 years later, it was kind of a wash. It wasn't clear that it was a huge, but yeah, on principle, I am more in support of protectionism for jobs that I think are the future, which is basically computer work and manufacturing and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Kay says, what booming economy? Certainly not around here. Kay, where are you from? I wonder.
Tell us more. Call in, Kay. Tell us about what it's like in your area. One thing that that we have in the notes from our intern is, despite the impressive job numbers, the country still suffers from acute wage stagnation, which has been an issue faced by many presidents. So since the early 1970s, the hourly wages by the average American worker, adjusted for inflation, have only grown 0.2% per year. And I think this is an important thing to think about, which cuts across both parties, which is the idea of, are the middle class, the working class, are they seeing commensurate economic gains as the top 1%? And I think the answer is no, they are not. So if you're making an hourly wage, you're not seeing the type of wage growth that is needed to keep a pace with inflation and be able to, buy housing and food and keep up with your expenses. And that is a problem.
My good friend, he's a big Trump supporter, and he did see an increase in his paycheck from the tax cuts, and it still wasn't much, but there was an increase. And hopefully, regardless if you love Trump or hate him, hopefully we see more of that in the future, because, who cares what the source is? If people start making more money and start doing better and better, and hopefully it can keep up with inflation eventually, maybe not right now, but at least we're going in the right direction, hopefully. I don't know. But, I just hope that we can all, appreciate that, I guess, even though, Trump is the president right now. It's hard for people when they really detest someone, and I totally understand that, because that's relatable. When there's a politician I detest, it's very hard to give credit to them when something goes right, because you kind of are always like, well, what is going on underneath here? Like, there's something else. There's a different motive. There's always questions of that.
I think the economic inequality, that's not a Trump problem. In fact, that's one of the reasons he got elected. And I think you are disingenuous if you don't say or agree that, Trump wants to help income. And he wants to help Americans who, it's not like he's coming in. I know there are like many very jaded, cynical liberals who are like, Trump only cares about the 1%. He's only in this like enriched Trump industries, blah, blah, blah. But like, no, I think you become president because you want to help Americans and you want to improve the, economy and the economic opportunity for all Americans. And specifically, this is a problem we know this cuts across, like this is the last decades of the world, is the middle class is not seeing the same economic gains as, the top 1% and a richer strata of Americans. So yes, I think Trump is trying to solve that. I think he's trying to increase wages. He wants to, like, for hourly workers, for people who are blue collar, middle class people, he wants to make their lives better. Like, I don't think you can argue with that. You're like pretty cynical, I feel like.
Yeah, well, especially right now, because he's going to be running again. So maybe in his second term, he wouldn't care as much, but now he wants that approval rating, and he's not just going to win by winning over the 1%. He's going to win by winning over people, by increasing their quality of life. So everyone who's just joining, we're just rehashing. This comes from the new unemployment rate. It's dropped to an 18-year low of 3.8%. That was in May, and it's June 1st today, by the way. Employers hired more people than economics had forecasted, according to the jobs report released today. Wages also grew faster than expected, a sign that okay, I can't read that. Never mind. It's too small. And then May marked the 92nd straight month of job growth in the U.S., a record streak. So that's kind of what some of the topics we're covering right now, in case you're just joining. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. We have two comments from Kathy, who says, Trump was handed a good economy. He hasn't ruined it yet. Contrasting with John Jacob, who says, absolutely, Mr. Trump gets 100% of the credit. I think those sort of bookend exactly the two different views. Like, liberals are like, this is Obama's economy that he inherited, and, he just hasn't screwed it up yet. Wait till his policies come into effect. And Trump supporters are like, obviously, he's been president for a year and a half. Like, he deserves credit for this. And, like most things, I think the answer is somewhere in between. Like, he did not inherit a recession and lift us out of a recession in a year and a half. He inherited a good economy that was on the upswing. But that being said, as you point out, like, obviously there are many things that could have decreased that. And instead, the growth is expedited, and you've continued to see expedited economic growth. So, yeah, I think the answer is, it's not very, like, viral, I guess, but it's like in between. Like, he inherited a good economy, and he has kept it on that path and increased how well it's doing. So the question is now, can he, 8 years from now, if he gets reelected, what will that look like? Because then I think after 8 years, you do start to say, okay, I think you deserve some credit. Like, I would say Obama, even if you're completely against Obama, you have to agree that he did, like, we were in a recession when he started, and we were much better off economically, afterward, like, overall in terms of growth. there are many things you can nitpick, like if that was unevenly distributed among certain socioeconomic classes, et cetera. But
yeah, I know a lot of conservatives who would disagree with that. I just don't know enough about it to be able to expertly say. Again, I'm not an expert economist. No, I remember during the Obama years, conservatives that was one of the main things they were talking about is the economy. So I should look more into that because I'm not very educated.
Yeah, what were some of the arguments?
The debt going up so much, and that's all I can think of right now, but just basically that. But the debt is still going up.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem. And I try to educate myself on, reasons why. I mean, it's obvious why we should care about it, but like how you can translate to people who don't care about it. And it's a difficult topic to get people to care about a debt that they probably won't have to necessarily pay in their lifetime.
Children.
Yeah. On a side note, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there was a surplus, and that, like, to me, the clear, like, in the last several presidencies, like, clearly going to war under Bush, like that.
Yeah.
That was a big hit. Like that was sort of a big event. And, Obama did not stop that. And that's something I super am against with Obama. I feel like I understand it's difficult to pull out whatever, but he just continued that. I mean, he did not change. And so that's very expensive. It's very expensive to invade and occupy other countries.
Yeah.
So that, is expensive.
And conservatives are equally upset with Bush for that. Tom says Obama blamed Bush for 8 years, now wants credit for the next 8. That's kind of the point I was getting to, is that's what conservatives sort of say. On a side note, really quick, we posted another question about Melania, because since she's been in the hospital, she hasn't been out and about. And I just wanted to say our thoughts and prayers are with Melania for wherever she is. I don't know where she is.
Or maybe it was Stephanie's, her PR person, but they were like, she's doing fine. She's
okay, good. And then another side note, as we mentioned earlier, the North Korea summit is back on, but NPR reports that in North Korea, they're not being made aware of the summit, but they're hearing about rice farming on their news, which is really unfortunate, and just more of a reason we need this summit to go well, so that the rights of the basic human rights of North Koreans can be hopefully restored. Not that, I just feel like if we're meeting and North Korea is being cooperative, maybe they will decide to join the rest of the modern world.
Yeah. I mean, Kim Jong-un has certainly, he has signaled some of the right things, but we have a comment from Pam, I think, following up on our question, and she's saying, Pam Harrison, I'm talking about the people who make $50,000 or below. Most of us are a paycheck away from homelessness. I think that's a really poignant anecdote. I mean, we would love for you to call in, Pam, and tell us more, about your thoughts on this, but I think that is a real problem. And this is not a Trump problem. This is not even an Obama problem. I think this is like the last 40 plus years where it's been trending is, if you are, below the poverty line, making an hourly wage, like we saw, it's growing by 0.2%. It's not outpacing inflation. So you're making less and less and less. Your buying power is less and less. I mean, it used to be you could graduate from high school, and this is my grandparents' generation. You graduate from high school, you could get a blue collar job, and from that you could buy a house, you could take nice vacations, you could send your kids to college. Yeah. That's just simply not the reality of our economy anymore. And the question is that something we need to go back to? I mean, the middle class was like only an economic construct for like a relatively short period of time in like, human history of humanity. So, but obviously, like having a society where it's like a lot of very poor people, a lot of very rich people, I mean, that feels pretty problematic. I'm no economist, but that feels like not ideal.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I was trying to see more comments. I don't know if we have voicemails on this topic, but we don't. I don't think so, no. And sorry if I'm glitching. Sorry.
You're back.
Okay. Am I here? We're good. Okay. So, yeah. I was going to bring up a couple more stats, but I don't think we need to rehash them. What do you think? What else? I don't know.
People, let's see. Yeah, it's interesting. There are people who are liberal, our commenters are saying he inherited Obama's economy. People who are more conservative are saying, no, it's his policies. You have to get president. People are mentioning some of the cost of living, like gas prices and things like that, which have been going up. Pam says, what middle class? LOL. Yeah, I think that's a valid point. A valid, what are we doing? And, in America where we have so much opportunity and wealth and there are, children who are going hungry, that is clearly a problem to that. And this is not to like, my soapbox, but like everyone agrees those are problems. Like if you're from the right, in the middle, whatever, people disagree on how exactly we should solve those. Is it bigger government? Is it smaller government? What is sort of the, the question? And I think this economic question is an interesting sort of lens into that, and it reveals I'm not saying I think people should have longer presidential terms, but it does reveal like every 8 years, 4 to 8 years, you turn to a different in administration and you're sort of flip-flopping economic policies, and it does, and Congress is just in complete gridlock and obviously totally worthless. So it is problematic. Like I think Obama, if you look at over his, and there were many, he did put many policies into place, but he really over 8 years, and he started with a Democratic Congress, he was not able to make that many changes. I mean, Obamacare was his huge signature achievement and obviously had a mixed rollout. I think some good and some bad would be the honest assessment. And now Trump and Republicans really want to take that away. And so it's like Obama spent all this time and effort and that was his signature achievement. And the next administration is like, actually, we think that's terrible. Look at all the ways it's not working. They undo it. Maybe they do something. Then the next administration puts that down. Like it does.
It's kind of unfair to the American people.
Yes, it is.
It really is. I totally agree with that. Yeah. And maybe, a couple years longer for a few, for your term, I guess that might work. All right. Well, Kelly said we have to wait till we have been in a full year of his economy. So ask again in October. Wait, wasn't he inaugurated in January? Hasn't it been a year?
I'm like, the budgets because
that makes sense. Yeah.
So that's like, but I don't know. I think you may like the points you were making. Totally true. Like for sure, there's confidence in the stock market. Like stock market ebbs and flows, and that is definitely influenced just by Trump being president. Just by it, like a tweet from him, it can influence the stock market. So the fact that it's going up and doing so well, and last year we saw some record stock market highs. You have to give credit for that to Trump. I mean, maybe not all the credit, but he's certainly not a separate actor. Like there was,
And the thing is he wants to be liked. Like I feel like
true.
That is such a motive for him, and that could do well for the American people, because if you have a politician who cares about being liked, they might do things that are good for you, like that's better than someone who really doesn't care about anything and is just, going in it for power. Yeah, of course, everyone has power interests, but the fact that he, I think, is a little sensitive about people liking him or not liking him is good for us, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think that's totally true. Yeah, right. Like I don't believe the, cynicism of like Trump is only wanted to become president because, he wanted to enrich his family. And, I think that he does want to make America a better place.
Yeah.
I agree with most of the policies that he's enacting to get there, but I do think he comes from a place of like, he wants America to be more prosperous, people to be doing well, economic opportunity, rising, things like that. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's about it. Paul says it's about, well, we don't even need to read the first half. Sad how we don't all want to work together for the better of humanity. Agree. All right, guys. Well, I think that's it for us today. We will see you Monday, same time, maybe an hour later, same place. Happy Friday, guys.
Yeah. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye.